Through the crosshairs of my loopholed scope, I watched my best friend of 23 years kiss my wife in the kitchen I'd built with my own hands. The morning of October 15th started like any other Friday in autumn. Crisp Pennsylvania air, leaves turning gold and crimson across my property, the kind of day that makes you grateful to be alive. I was supposed to be 45 minutes down the highway by now, headed to our cabin in Potter County for the annual hunting trip. Instead, I was lying prone in the tree line 200 yards from my own house, watching my life burn down through precision German optics. Let me back up. My name is Tyler Brennan. I'm 42 years old. 2 tours in Afghanistan with the 75th Ranger Regiment. I came home with all my limbs, most of my sanity, and a skill set that doesn't translate well to civilian life, except for the patience. The patience has served me well. I built an HVAC company from nothing, grew it to 30 employees, made something of myself. Married Megan Holloway 16 years ago. We have 2 kids, Lily, 14 going on 30, and Owen, 11, who still thinks his old man hung the moon. And Derek Lawson. Derek was my best friend since freshman year at Penn State. 23 years of friendship. He was the best man at my wedding. The godfather to my son. The guy I called when my father died and I didn't know how to grieve. The man who I thought would take a bullet for me. Turns out he'd been taking something else entirely. The tradition started 19 years ago. Me, Derek, Craig Walters, and Pete Sullivan. 4 days in the woods every October. We'd hunt, drink too much, play poker badly, and remember what it felt like to be young and stupid. Derek had never missed it. Not when his father died. He went the day after the funeral. Not when he broke his arm falling off a ladder. Not once in 19 years. Until Thursday night. "Hey, brother." Derek's voice came through the phone sounding like he'd rehearsed this. "Listen, I gotta bail on the trip. Rachel's sick, some kind of stomach thing. I can't leave her alone all weekend." I stood in my garage, loading gear into my truck, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, not yet. Just recognition. Like when you're on patrol and the street gets too quiet. "That's rough, man. She gonna be okay?" Yeah. Probably just a bug. But you know how she gets. "I'll make it up to you guys next year." "Sure thing. Take care of her." I hung up and stood there in the dim light of the garage, surrounded by hunting gear and the smell of gun oil, and I knew. I didn't have proof. I didn't have evidence. But I knew in my gut the way you know when an IED is buried in the road ahead, the way you know when someone's lying to you because they can't quite meet your eyes even through a phone line. Derek Lawson had never been a good liar. He'd just never had to lie to me before. I finished loading the truck, went inside. Megan was in the kitchen, and here's the thing that confirmed it for me. She was too happy. Not regular happy, performative happy. She made me breakfast at 5:30 in the morning, which she hadn't done since our anniversary. She kissed me at the door, and it lasted 3 seconds too long, like she was saying goodbye to something. And she was wearing perfume. At 6 in the morning. On a day she claimed she'd be cleaning the house and catching up on Netflix. "You sure you'll be okay alone all weekend?" I asked, watching her face. "Please." She waved a hand. "I'm looking forward to it. Going to do absolutely nothing productive. Maybe finally watch that documentary series everyone's talking about." "Which one?" She paused, just for a heartbeat. "The nature one, you know? With the penguins." She had no idea what she was talking about. She was filling space. "Have fun with that," I said. I kissed her cheek. She turned into it, made it longer than it needed to be, and I walked out the door, I noticed everything. I said nothing. I drove away. I made it 45 minutes down the highway before I pulled over and called Craig. "Hey man, forgot my GPS unit. Heading back to grab it. I'll meet you guys at the cabin by noon." "No worries, drive safe." The GPS was in my glove box. I knew exactly where it was. I'd checked it twice before I left, because some part of me already knew I'd be making this call. I drove back with the radio off, just the sound of my own breathing and the engine. The sun was coming up properly now, painting everything in shades of orange and red. Beautiful morning. Perfect for hunting. Perfect for discovery. I parked my truck a quarter-mile from the house, on the access road that leads to the woods behind my property. The dirt track was overgrown. I hadn't used it since last deer season. I killed the engine and sat for a moment, my hands steady on the wheel. There was still time to turn around. Drive to the cabin. Pretend I never came back. Live in ignorance like a good husband. A trusting husband. The kind of husband who believes his wife when she says she's doing laundry. I got out of the truck. The walk through the woods was familiar. I'd hunted these trees 100 times, tracking deer and turkey and the occasional moment of peace. The leaves were wet from overnight dew, muffling my footsteps. Old habits. Move quiet. Stay low. Don't let them see you coming. That's when I saw it. Derek's silver BMW X5. Not in the driveway. That would be too obvious. Parked around the side of the house, partially hidden by the garage. Like he'd done it before. Like he knew exactly where to put it so the neighbors wouldn't notice. Something shifted inside me. The part of me that came back from Kandahar. The part that learned to wait for hours in positions that would cripple a normal man. The part that learned to separate emotion from action. That part took over. I didn't storm into my house. I didn't call. I didn't text. I walked 200 yards into the tree line, found a position with a clear sight line to my kitchen windows, settled into the leaves and dirt, and I waited. 2 tours in Afghanistan taught me a lot of things, but mostly they taught me patience. I'd spent 14 hours in a hide site once, watching a compound, barely moving, waiting for a target who never showed. This was easier. Better weather, softer ground. And this target was going to show me everything. I mounted my phone to my rifle with the little adapter I use for hunting videos. Started recording. The scope gave me a crystal clear view into my own life. 8:15 a.m. They were in the kitchen. My kitchen. Derek was leaning against the counter, the granite countertop I'd installed myself 3 summers ago, and Megan was pouring coffee into mugs. She handed him one and he took it without looking, because he already knew which cabinet the mugs were in. He knew which mug was his. This wasn't new. This was routine. They were laughing, comfortable. The way you are with someone you've been sleeping with for a long time. Not the nervous energy of a new affair, all adrenaline and stolen glances. This was settled. Domestic. I watched Derek reach out and brush a strand of hair from Megan's face. She leaned into his touch. Smiled at him the way she used to smile at me back when we were young and everything felt possible. 8:45 a.m. They moved to the living room. To the couch I bought for our 10th anniversary. I watched through the scope as Derek put his arm around my wife, as she curled into him like she'd done it 100 times. Because she probably had. My hands didn't shake. My breathing stayed even. I cataloged everything. The way she touched his face. The way he kissed her forehead. The timestamps on my phone, documenting every moment. 9:30 a.m. They went upstairs. I adjusted position, found an angle to the master bedroom window. The curtains were partially open, not enough to see everything, but enough. Enough to see them together. Enough for the footage to be undeniable. I watched my wife with another man in the bed where my children were conceived. And I felt nothing. Not yet. The numbness was a gift. I'd learned in combat that emotions come later, when you're safe, when the mission is done. Right now, I was gathering intelligence. Right now, I was building a case. 10:45 a.m. They came back downstairs. Derek was dressed again, checking his phone. I caught fragments of conversation through an open window, the one in the breakfast nook that Megan always left cracked because she liked the fresh air. "What you said in Cabo," Derek said, laughing at something. Cabo. Last February, Megan went to a real estate conference in San Diego. She was gone 5 days, came back tan and relaxed and more affectionate than she'd been in months. I'd thought maybe the break had been good for her. Maybe she'd missed me. Derek had a financial planning seminar the same week. They weren't even being careful. They weren't even trying. 11:15 a.m. More conversation through the window. I strained to hear. "Have to tell him eventually," Megan said. She was at the sink, washing dishes, playing house. "I know." Derek came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. The timing's never right. Rachel's been different lately, suspicious. She doesn't know. She might suspect." Megan turned in his arms. "Do you regret this?" He kissed her. "Never, not for 1 second. I filmed it all, the embrace, the words, the betrayal." 11:30 a.m. My phone buzzed. Megan's name on the screen. I answered it while watching her through the scope. "Hey babe, how's the drive?" My voice came out steady. "Normal. Good. Beautiful day. How's your morning?" "Oh, boring. Just doing laundry. Miss you already." I watched her pace the bedroom as she lied to me. Derek was 5 feet away, visible at the edge of the frame, looking at his phone. "Miss you too. Love you. Love you more." She hung up, turned to Derek, said something I couldn't hear, and they both laughed. "Love you more. 16 years. 2 children. A life built together." And she said those words to me while standing next to the man she was betraying me with. 12:45 p.m. Derek finally left. I filmed his BMW pulling out of my driveway, making sure to capture the license plate, the timestamp, everything. Then I waited another 15 minutes. Made sure she wasn't following him out, meeting him somewhere else. She didn't. She went to the kitchen and started actually doing laundry. I walked back to my truck, drove to the cabin, and spent 3 days pretending everything was fine. Friday night at the cabin, I was Tyler Brennan. Good friend, good hunter, lousy poker player. I laughed at Craig's terrible jokes. I argued with Pete about the best rifle caliber for whitetail. I drank exactly 2 beers and nursed the second one for 3 hours. "You're quiet tonight," Pete observed, dealing another hand. "Everything okay?" "Just tired. Long week." Craig snorted. "You're always tired. You work too hard." "Someone has to keep the lights on." "How's Megan?" Pete asked. Innocent question, conversation. I didn't flinch. "Good. Busy with the real estate stuff. Market's picking up again. Must be nice having a wife who brings in her own income." Rachel just started talking about going back to work, and Derek's acting like she suggested drowning puppies. I filed that away, stored it for later. Derek's old-fashioned like that. Derek's a control freak is what he is. Craig threw down his cards. "Fold. These hands are garbage." Pete dealt another round. "You ever notice how he always has to be right? Like, about everything? Last month we were arguing about football stats and he pulled out his phone to prove me wrong. Over a bar bet. Who does that? Overachievers, Craig said. Everything's a competition. I thought about Derek, about all the years I'd known him, all the times I'd defended him when others called him arrogant or self-centered. He's just driven, I'd said. He's got high standards. He's my best friend. 23 years? And I'd never seen him clearly until now. You okay, Tyler? Pete asked. You're being weird. Just thinking. About what? About how long you can know somebody and still not know them at all. Craig and Pete exchanged a look. That's deep for a Friday night, Craig said. You need another beer? Yeah, I think I do. That night, while they slept, I sat in my truck with the engine running for heat and reviewed the footage. Every frame, every timestamp. I created backup copies, cloud drive, encrypted thumb drive, email to a new account nobody knew about. Evidence in triplicate. Because the old Tyler, the one who came home from his first deployment with a hair-trigger temper, would have kicked in that door and done something he'd regret. This Tyler knew better. Anger is a luxury, and I couldn't afford it. Not yet. Saturday morning, I told Craig and Pete I was going on a solo hunt. Instead, I drove 30 miles to a town with decent cell service and called Victor Castellano. Victor was a divorce attorney I'd met at a veterans networking event 2 years ago. Former Marine, built like a refrigerator, with a reputation for never losing a contested divorce case. His clients called him the Butcher and meant it as a compliment. Tyler Brennan, it's been a while. I need to meet Monday. It's urgent. A pause. Victor was smart enough to read between the lines. I'll clear my afternoon. My office, 2 o'clock. And Tyler? Don't call your home phone or your personal cell until we talk. Understood. Saturday night, around the fire, I steered the conversation toward Derek, toward his marriage. You know, Craig said, 3 beers deep and getting philosophical. I saw Derek's car at the Marriott downtown a few months back, middle of the afternoon. Thought it was weird. My heart rate stayed steady. Yeah? Yeah, just sitting there in the parking lot. His car's distinctive, you know? That silver X5 with a dent in the back bumper. Pete snorted. Probably got something on the side. Wouldn't surprise me. Rachel's been cold to him for years. You see the way she looks at him at parties? Like she's doing inventory on a house she's about to sell? Maybe they're working through stuff, I offered. Testing. Maybe. Craig shrugged. None of my business anyway. I filed this away. How many people had seen signs and said nothing? How many people knew something was wrong and figured it wasn't their place? I wondered if I'd have said anything, if I'd seen Craig's car at a hotel. I'd like to think I would. But probably I wouldn't have. Probably I'd have told myself it was none of my business, that there was an innocent explanation that you don't blow up a man's marriage over a parking lot sighting. There are sins of action and sins of inaction. I was learning the difference. Sunday evening, I came home. Megan met me at the door like a commercial for domestic bliss. Wine poured, my favorite dinner cooking, wearing the blue dress she knew I liked. The performance was flawless. How was the trip? Good. Quiet without Derek. I watched her face for the micro-expression, the flicker of guilt. Nothing. She was good at this. Better than I'd given her credit for. Is Rachel feeling better? I think so. I texted her, but she didn't respond. Probably still recovering. We ate dinner. She talked about a new listing she was excited about. A farmhouse outside town, lots of potential, I nodded in the right places, asked follow-up questions, played my part. "You seem distracted," she said. "Everything okay?" "Just thinking about a job we've got coming up. Commercial building downtown, big project." "You'll handle it. You always do." That night, she wanted to be close. I said I was exhausted from the drive. It was the first time in 16 years I'd said no to my wife. She looked confused, maybe a little suspicious. "You sure you're okay?" "Just tired, Meg. It was a long weekend." "Okay." She kissed my cheek. "Get some sleep." "Good." Let her wonder. At 2 in the morning, I slid out of bed and took her phone from the nightstand. I knew her passcode. I'd watched her enter it 1,000 times, never thinking I'd need to use it for this. Never thinking I'd become the kind of man who goes through his wife's phone in the dark. The messages were deleted. Of course they were. She wasn't stupid. But she'd forgotten about the recently deleted folder in her photo app. 217 photos, spanning at least 18 months. Derek. Hotels I'd never seen. Restaurants in cities she'd visited for work. A beach that looked a lot like Mexico. No explicit images. Megan was too smart for that, but plenty of evidence. Kissing, holding hands. Her wearing a necklace I'd never seen. Something delicate and gold that Derek must have bought her. I found pictures from that conference in San Diego. Pictures from a weekend she'd spent at her college friend's house in Boston, except her friend was nowhere in the photos. Pictures from our anniversary trip to New York, when she'd had dinner with an old colleague, while I watched ESPN in the hotel room. One photo stopped me cold. Megan and Derek on a balcony somewhere, city lights behind them. She was wearing a white dress I'd never seen. He was in a suit. They looked happy, in love, like a couple on their honeymoon. The timestamp was from March. Our wedding anniversary is in March. 18 months, at least. I took screenshots, sent them to my secure email, deleted the sent messages, put her phone back exactly where I'd found it. Then I lay in bed next to my wife for 5 hours, staring at the ceiling, and didn't sleep at all. Monday afternoon, Victor Castellano's office. He had the kind of space that said, expensive but worth it. Leather chairs, legal texts on mahogany shelves, a view of downtown that probably added $200 to his hourly rate. I handed him the thumb drive. Told him everything, from Derek's phone call to the photos on Megan's phone. He watched the footage without expression, a man who'd seen worse and charged by the hour for the privilege. "This is comprehensive," he said finally. "You military?" "2 tours, Ranger." "It shows." He steepled his fingers. "Okay, here's the situation." For the next hour, Victor explained the legal landscape of my ruined marriage. Pennsylvania was an equitable distribution state, not automatic 50-50, but fair, whatever that meant. Infidelity wouldn't automatically get me a better split, but it could influence alimony and custody. My company was a problem. I'd started it before we got married, which made it a premarital asset. But the appreciation during the marriage, the growth from a $200,000 operation to a $3.2 million company, that was marital property. Megan's lawyer would argue she supported my career, raised our kids, made it possible for me to build something. She was supporting something, all right, I said. Just not my career. Victor almost smiled. Almost. The evidence will help. Courts take a dim view of this kind of thing, especially when there's documentation of financial misconduct. Financial misconduct? If she's been spending marital assets on the affair, hotels, gifts, trips, that can be factored into the distribution. He made a note. I'll need a full financial picture, bank statements, credit cards, everything. The house we could split. Custody would probably be 50-50 unless I could demonstrate she was unfit. The evidence of the affair would help with that. Don't confront her yet, Victor said. We need time to prepare. Financial discovery, asset protection. The moment you tell her, she lawyers up and goes into defense mode. You lose the advantage. How long? Do it right? 6 weeks minimum. Do it fast and sloppy, you lose half your company to a woman who spent the last 2 years sleeping in your bed and your best friends. 6 weeks. 42 days of lying beside her. 42 days of pretending I didn't know. 42 days of watching her smile and kiss me and tell me she loved me while the footage burned a hole in my cloud storage. 6 weeks, I said. Victor nodded. Then, I know someone, private investigator, former FBI. If this has been going on 18 months, there might be more. Financial entanglements, other partners. The more we know, the better your position. Do it. Nina Cortez was 48, compact and sharp-eyed, with the kind of face that people forgot 5 minutes after meeting her. Perfect for surveillance. She charged $400 an hour and was worth every penny. We met at a coffee shop in a county I never visited. I paid cash. No paper trail. I don't just find evidence of the affair, Nina explained, stirring a coffee she'd barely touched. I map the whole relationship, timelines, locations, financial connections, communications. By the time I'm done, you'll know things about your wife she's forgotten herself. How long? 3 weeks, minimum. More if the trail goes deeper than expected. Start tomorrow. 3 weeks of investigation. Late October into mid-November. Nina delivered weekly reports, and each one made the picture clearer and uglier. Week 1. The affair hadn't started 18 months ago. It had started 28 months ago. Before our last anniversary. Before Christmas at my parents' house. Before the family vacation to Disney World, where I'd carried Owen on my shoulders and thought my life was perfect. Their first confirmed meeting was a work lunch that lasted 4 hours at a hotel 30 miles from town. Derek's credit card records showed regular purchases at a jewelry store I'd never heard of. The necklace. He's spent over $8,000 at that store in the past 2 years, Nina reported. Always cash after the first purchase. Probably realized credit card statements were risky. Week 2. The Cabo trip was real. Derek and Megan had flown separately, covering their tracks, but stayed at the same resort. Different rooms on paper, same room in practice. Nina had gotten confirmation from hotel staff who remembered the attractive American couple who couldn't keep their hands off each other. They used the name Mr. and Mrs. Williams for room service, Nina said. Probably thought they were being clever. Total estimated spending by Derek on Megan. Over $40,000 in 28 months. Hotels, jewelry, dinners, flights. My best friend had been courting my wife with more effort than I'd put into our marriage in years. And I hated that I understood it. Hated that some part of me recognized the failure. Because I'd been building a company, working 60-hour weeks, coming home tired and distracted. I'd thought Megan understood. I'd thought we were partners, building something together. Instead, she'd found someone with more time and more money and fewer calluses on his hands. There's something else, Nina said during our third meeting. Something you're not going to want to hear. Tell me. Week 3. The bomb dropped. Derek had been managing a small investment account for Megan. It was supposed to be Lily's college fund. $50,000 that Megan's mother had left her when she died 3 years ago. A dying grandmother's gift to her granddaughter's future. Current balance, $12,000. The money hadn't been stolen. Megan had withdrawn it herself. Cash withdrawals, no paper trail on her end. But Nina traced it anyway. $38,000. Spent on gifts for Derek. A $15,000 watch. Nina had photos of him wearing it. Weekend getaways she paid for. A down payment on a fishing boat registered in Derek's name. Wait, I said. She bought him a boat? Half a boat. Down payment was $22,000. He financed the rest. Nina slid a document across the table. It's docked at a marina about 40 miles north. He takes it out every other weekend during the summer. Sometimes with Rachel and the kids. Sometimes alone. Sometimes with Megan. Got it in one. She'd used her dead mother's money meant for our daughter, to buy presents for the man she was sleeping with. I sat in my truck after Nina told me this, parked in an empty lot behind a grocery store, and I finally let myself feel it. All of it. The rage and the grief and the betrayal. Everything I'd been holding back since October 15th. I punched the steering wheel until my knuckles bled. I screamed into the silence until my throat was raw. Then I cleaned myself up, drove home, and kissed my wife hello like nothing had happened. 42 days. I could do anything for 42 days. The twist came in early November. Nina discovered that Rachel Lawson, Derek's wife, had filed for legal separation 6 months ago, then withdrawn the filing. She knows, Nina said, or at least she knew. Something happened, she found out, filed papers. Then she changed her mind. Can you reach her? Carefully. You want me to? Yeah. See if she'll talk to me. 2 days later, I met Rachel Lawson in a park on the edge of town. Early morning, nobody around. She was standing by the playground equipment, watching the empty swings move in the wind, and she looked different. Not broken. Not weak. Angry. Cold. Ready. Tyler. She didn't offer a handshake. I wasn't sure you'd actually show. I wasn't sure you'd agree to meet. I almost didn't. She turned to face me. How long have you known? 2 months. You? 8. A bitter smile. I came home early from my sisters. Saw them through the window. Just like you, probably. Except I didn't have military training. I kicked in the door and started screaming. I could picture it. Rachel was small but fierce. The kind of woman who'd key your car and smile about it. Derek cried, she continued. Actually cried. Real tears running down his face like a little boy who got caught stealing cookies. Promised to end it. Promised therapy, transparency, everything. I filed for separation. He begged me to give him another chance. She paused. 3 weeks later, I found hotel charges on his credit card. He never stopped. He just got better at hiding it. Why didn't you go through with the divorce? Because I wasn't ready. I didn't have evidence like you do. I just had what I saw, and they'd both deny it. My word against theirs. She looked at me with something like respect. Your investigator is very good. She showed me the photos, the receipts. The boat. The boat he bought with my daughter's college fund. Rachel's expression flickered. She didn't tell me that part. Megan's mother left $50,000 for Lily's education. Megan spent $38,000 of it on gifts for your husband. I let that sink in. Including a down payment on his fishing boat. That boat. Rachel's laugh was harsh. He takes the kids out on that boat. Tells them it's daddy's special project, bought with another woman's money. She shook her head. And I thought I knew everything. You've been talking to Nina? She reached out. I told her everything. Rachel stepped closer. I've been planning for months, Tyler, but I can't do it alone. Not the way I want to. What do you want? I want to burn it down. All of it. His career, his reputation, his finances. I want him to lose everything the way I lost everything. Her voice was steady as a rifle barrel. And I want to do it at the same time you do. A coordinated strike. They won't know what hit them. I thought about it. The advantages. The complications. 2 divorces filed in the same day. 2 spouses blindsided simultaneously. No chance for Derek and Megan to coordinate their stories, to warn each other, to protect each other. What do you have on him? Rachel's smile was thin and sharp. His financial advising business isn't what it seems. He's been underperforming for years, hiding losses from clients, shuffling money to cover shortfalls. He's not technically committing fraud yet, but he's close. And his clients? State representatives, local business owners, people who care very much about their reputations. She pulled a folder from her purse. If word got out that their trusted financial advisor was lying to them about their returns while using client meetings as cover for his affair, he's done. Professionally, personally, completely. I took the folder, looked at the documents inside, bank statements, client communications, a paper trail of deception that went beyond the affair. I'm in, I said. Rachel exhaled. For a moment, she looked almost vulnerable. Good, because I can't do this alone. And I think we both deserve to see them pay. We shook hands. It felt like signing a contract. One more thing, Rachel said. Something Nina found that she might not have told you yet. What? Derek has a $2 million life insurance policy. Took it out 3 years ago. She met my eyes. The beneficiary isn't me. It isn't our children. I knew before she said it. Megan, your wife is the beneficiary on my husband's life insurance. Not me, not our kids, her. Rachel's voice was ice. That's not an affair, Tyler. That's a plan. That's a future they were building without us. I stood there in the cold morning air, feeling the last pieces click into place. Then I guess it's time to tear it down. December came. The preparations were almost complete. Victor had helped me restructure my business, promoting my most trusted employee, James Hartley, to a 15% equity partnership. It was something I'd planned to do anyway, eventually. Doing it now reduced the marital value of the company. Legal, clean, smart. James is good people, Victor said, and this protects both of you. If things get ugly in court, she can't argue you diminished assets. You've got documentation showing this promotion was in the works for months. I documented everything about my involvement in my kids' lives. School pickups, doctor's appointments, coaching Owen's soccer team. I'd always been present, always been involved. Now there was a paper trail to prove it. I moved my direct deposits to new accounts. Not hiding assets, that would be illegal, just separating them for the inevitable split. Victor reviewed every move. Everything by the book. Megan noticed nothing. She was too busy, too distracted, too confident in her own deception to see mine. There was one moment, though. Late November. I was on the couch with Lily, watching some YouTube thing she wanted to show me. Her phone buzzed with a notification, and I saw it before she could hide it. A text from Aunt Rachel, which was Megan's contact name for Derek. My daughter was holding her mother's phone, and Derek's name flashed across the screen with a heart emoji. It took everything I had not to react. Not to grab the phone, not to scream. "Everything okay, Dad? You look weird." "Fine, honey, just tired." That night, I went to the gym at 11 p.m., beat the heavy bag until my knuckles were raw beneath the gloves. Sweat poured down my face, mixing with something that might have been tears. A trainer finally stopped me, looking concerned. "You okay, man?" "Family stuff," I said. "Working through it." He nodded, like that explained everything. Maybe it did. December 10th. The plan was finalized. D-Day, Friday, December 17th. 1 week before Christmas. The sequence had been choreographed like a military operation. At noon, I would text Megan. "Need to talk tonight. Important. Kids are at my mom's." At the same time, Rachel would send an identical message to Derek. At 1 o'clock, a process server would walk into Megan's real estate office and serve her divorce papers in front of her colleagues. 30 minutes later, another server would do the same to Derek at his financial planning firm. By 3 o'clock, I would be at the house, waiting. Rachel would be at hers. The evidence packets, everything Nina had gathered, everything I documented, would be attached to the divorce filings. They would know exactly what we knew. And they would understand exactly how much they stood to lose. "You ready for this?" Victor asked during our final prep meeting. "I've been ready for 63 days. It's going to be hard, watching her face when she realizes, saying the words out loud." "I know. Most people, the anger carries them through. Then afterwards, when the adrenaline wears off." He paused. "You got someone to talk to? Therapist? Friend? Someone?" "I'll figure it out." "Figure it out now, Tyler. Trust me. This kind of thing, it breaks people. Even people who think they're ready." I thought about my father. The way he'd held everything inside until it ate him alive. The way he died angry and alone because he never learned to let anyone help him. "I'll find someone," I said. After. December 17th. Friday. The sky was gray with the promise of snow. I dropped Lily and Owen at my mother's house the night before. Told them Mom and I needed some quiet time to work on Christmas presents. They didn't question it. Kids trust their parents, even when they shouldn't. "Be good for Grandma," I said, hugging them goodbye. "Dad, you're being weird," Lily said. "Is everything okay?" 14 years old and she could already read me better than her mother ever had. "Everything's going to be fine, sweetheart. I promise." At noon exactly, I sent the text. "Need to talk tonight. Important. Kids are at my mom's." Megan's response came 30 seconds later. "Everything okay?" "We'll talk tonight." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "Tyler, you're scaring me." I didn't respond. Let her stew. Let her wonder. At 1 o'clock, I was parked across the street from her office, watching through my windshield. I saw the process server walk in. Saw him approach the reception desk. Saw him wait while someone went to get Megan. She came out looking confused. Professional smile in place. The server handed her the envelope, thick, heavy with documentation, and said whatever legal phrase they're required to say. I watched her face change, the confusion becoming concern, the concern becoming fear. She opened the envelope right there in the reception area, in front of 3 of her colleagues. I was too far away to see the photograph I'd included, the one of her and Derek in our kitchen, time-stamped October 15th. But I saw her reaction, the color draining from her face, the way she grabbed the edge of the desk for support, the way her mouth moved in what might have been "oh God," or "no," or just a sound without words. Her hand went to her phone. She called me. I didn't answer. She called Derek. From the way her expression crumbled, I knew he didn't answer either. Because 30 minutes earlier, the same scene had played out at Lawson Financial Advisors. Derek served in front of his colleagues, his clients, his carefully constructed reputation. I drove home and waited. She came through the door at 3:17 p.m. Her makeup was ruined from crying. Her professional armor had cracked and fallen away. She looked at me, sitting in the living room, in the chair that faced the door, calm as a man waiting for a bus. And something in her face broke open. "Tyler, please, let me explain. I watched you." My voice was steady. I'd rehearsed this, not the words, but the tone. The control. October 15th. I came back from my GPS, except I never forgot it. I saw Derek's car parked behind the garage, exactly where you always park it. I sat in the woods behind our house for 5 hours with my rifle scope. I watched you make coffee. I watched you laugh with him. I watched you go upstairs. She was shaking, her whole body trembling like a leaf in a storm. I watched you call me and tell me you were doing laundry while he was standing right next to you. How long? Her voice was barely a whisper. How long have you known? 63 days. 63? She staggered, caught herself on the arm of the couch. Why didn't you say anything? I stood up, walked to the side table, picked up the binder I'd prepared. 300 pages of evidence, organized chronologically, every piece of our marriage's destruction documented and indexed. Because I needed time to make sure you couldn't take half my company, my house, and my children, and walk away like nothing happened. I handed her the binder, watched her flip through it. The photos, the hotel receipts, the jewelry purchases, the boat, the $40,000 Derek had spent on her, and the college fund. Your mother left that money for Lily, I said. Our daughter, her grandmother's last gift. And you spent $38,000 of it on presents for your affair partner. Megan looked up from the binder. Her eyes were red, streaming. Tyler, I never meant... Don't, I cut her off. Don't tell me what you never meant. You meant every bit of it. 28 months. Every lie, every excuse, every time you told me you loved me while you were sleeping with him. You meant all of it. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill. A mistake is missing a turn on the highway. What you did was a choice. Hundreds of choices, over and over, for more than 2 years. I sat back down. Here's how this is going to work. I laid out the terms. 40% of marital assets instead of 50. I keep the house. 50-50 custody, but I'm the primary residential parent during the school year. No alimony. If you accept these terms, I said, we do this quietly. The kids get told an age-appropriate version. Your reputation stays mostly intact. You get to keep your career, your dignity, most of your life. And if I don't? Then every person in your professional and personal network sees that binder. Your colleagues, your clients, your parents, your pastor. I leaned forward. Your choice. You have 48 hours. She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time, like she'd never really known me at all. Tyler, I love you. I know that sounds crazy right now, but I do. I never stopped loving you. Derek was a mistake, a terrible mistake. But it didn't mean I stopped. You named him as your emergency contact at your doctor's office. She froze. Nina found that, changed it 8 months ago, from me to him. I smiled, and there was no warmth in it. You replaced me, Megan. piece by piece, and you would have kept going until there was nothing left. I wasn't going to leave you. The life insurance policy, Derek's $2 million policy. You're the beneficiary. I watched the realization hit her. You weren't just having an affair. You were building an exit strategy, a future where I didn't exist. I didn't. She was stammering now, the excuses falling apart. I didn't know he did that. He never told me. 48 hours, Megan. That's all the time you get. She stood there, crying, broken, and I felt nothing. The numbness again. The gift that kept on giving. Can I at least call him? See if he's okay? You can do whatever you want. You just can't do it in this house anymore. She stood there, wavering, like she couldn't believe what was happening. Like she'd expected tears and screaming and broken dishes, and instead she got this, a man with a binder and a deadline. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. Tyler, you have a credit card. Get a hotel, call one of your girlfriends, go stay with your parents and explain to them why their daughter is homeless on a Friday night. I kept my voice level, controlled. Or go to Derek's. I'm sure Rachel would love to meet you. Rachel knows? Rachel's known longer than I have. She found out 8 months ago, gave Derek a second chance. He kept right on lying to her. I paused. To both of you, really. He told you Rachel didn't know. He told Rachel it was over. He played both sides and you never even questioned it. Megan's face went through something I couldn't read. Surprise, hurt, maybe even betrayal. Like she was just now realizing that the man she'd risked everything for wasn't any more honest with her than he'd been with anyone else. He said he loved me. He said a lot of things, Megan. So did you. She gathered her purse, her keys, the divorce papers, clutched against her chest like evidence of a crime, which, in a way, they were. I'm going to fight this, she said. I'm going to get a lawyer, and we're going to fight for what's fair. You're welcome to try, but I'd suggest you read all the way through that binder first, every page. Then decide if you really want to judge looking at what you've done. She left. I heard her car start in the driveway, heard her pull away. Then silence. I sat in my living room, and waited for the feeling to come. The triumph, the satisfaction, the closure. It didn't. It just felt like an ending. Rachel called me that night. Her voice was hoarse but satisfied. It's done. How'd he take it? Badly, really badly. A sound that might have been a laugh. He cried, begged, tried to explain. I showed him the insurance policy. You know, the one where he named your wife as his beneficiary instead of me or our children. And he actually tried to say it was a clerical error. Did he believe that would work? He believed a lot of things would work. None of them did. I heard her pour something. Wine, probably. I told him I want the house, full custody, 60% of assets. And I told him if he doesn't agree, I'm sending his client records to every single person he's ever lied to. What did he say? He said he'd sign whatever I wanted. Another sound, somewhere between triumph and grief. 22 years of marriage, gone in an afternoon. Do you regret it? A long pause. No. I regret not doing it sooner. I regret giving him a second chance he didn't deserve. She exhaled. But I don't regret burning it down. Some things deserve to burn. How did it go? The confrontation. Rachel was quiet for a moment, collecting her thoughts. Then she started talking, and I could picture every second of it. He came home expecting dinner. and maybe a conversation about our vacation plans. Instead, I was sitting at the kitchen table with the evidence spread out like a crime scene. He saw it and just stopped, froze in the doorway like a deer in headlights. What did he say? He said, "Rachel, I can explain." As if there was any explanation. As if there was some version of this where he wasn't guilty. She laughed bitterly. I told him to sit down. I walked him through it. Every hotel receipt. Every lie he told me while he was with her. The timeline that showed he never stopped. Not even when he promised me on our children's lives that it was over. And the insurance policy? That's when he really lost it. Started crying. Said he meant to change it, that it was some mistake from when he was thinking about updating his portfolio, that he never intended. She stopped. 22 years of marriage, Tyler. I've seen him lie before. I've seen him lie to clients, to his parents, to our kids when he was trying to get out of something he didn't want to do. But I'd never seen him lie like that. He was desperate, panicked, like a cornered animal. Did you believe any of it? Not for a second. And I told him so. I told him I wanted the house, full custody, 60% of everything we'd built together. I told him if he fought me, I would release the financial records to every single person who trusted him with their money. And he caved. Completely. Said he'd sign anything. Said he just wanted it to be over. Her voice hardened. That's the thing about men like Derek. They think they're so smart. They think they've got everything figured out, every angle covered. But when it all falls apart, they don't have the spine to fight for anything. They just want to make the pain stop. Some people aren't built for consequences. No, they're not. She paused. How are you doing, Tyler? Really? I thought about it. About the hollow feeling in my chest, the way food didn't taste like anything, the way I kept waking up at 3 a.m., reaching for a woman who wasn't there anymore. I'm surviving. That's all I can say right now. That's enough. Surviving is enough. Megan tried everything over the next 48 hours. Crying phone calls at 2 a.m. Apologetic texts that went on for paragraphs. She showed up at my mother's house and tried to talk to me through the door while the kids were at school. Just let me explain, she said through the wood. Please, Tyler. 16 years has to mean something. It did, I said. That's why this hurts so much. I'll do anything. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. We can work through this. We can't. Please. Her voice broke. I can't lose everything. You should have thought about that 28 months ago. She cried outside for 20 minutes. Then she left. On the morning of the third day, she signed the agreement. All my terms, unchanged. Her lawyer, hastily retained, obviously expensive, had told her she was getting off easy. She probably was. Her only request, please don't show the kids. I would never hurt them to punish you, I said. That's the difference between us. Derek tried to reach out exactly once. A text 2 weeks after the papers were signed. Can we talk? Please. I know I don't deserve it, but I need to explain. You were my best friend for 23 years. That has to count for something. I read it. Thought about responding. Thought about telling him everything I felt. The betrayal, the rage, the grief for a friendship I'd thought would last our whole lives. In the end, I just blocked his number. Some things don't deserve explanation. Some things are just over. Christmas was hard. The hardest day of my life, maybe. Lily and Owen knew something was wrong. Kids always know. But they didn't understand what. Megan and I had agreed on the basics. Mom and Dad are separating. We both still love you. This isn't your fault. Lily cried. Owen tried not to cry and failed. I held them both, feeling their grief shake through me, and hated Megan more in that moment than I had during any of the past 63 days. Why? Lily asked. Why are you doing this? Sometimes people grow apart, sweetheart. Sometimes things happen that can't be fixed. What happened? That's between your mom and me. But I promise, this isn't your fault. Nothing you did or didn't do caused this. Does Mom know that? She does. We both love you. That hasn't changed. Owen looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. Is Derek still coming to New Year's dinner like he always does? The question hit me like a punch. No, buddy, Derek's not coming anymore. Why? I pulled him into a hug. Sometimes friendships end, even ones that lasted a long time. It's sad, but it happens. Are you sad? Yeah, buddy, I'm sad, but I've got you and your sister, and that makes it okay. The divorce was finalized January 28th. 3.5 months from discovery to freedom. Victor called it a record. I kept the house. Kept 75% of my business. 50-50 custody, with the kids living primarily with me during the school year. No alimony. Rachel's divorce was finalized 6 days later. She got the house, full custody, 60% of assets. Derek didn't fight. I heard through the grapevine that he'd lost 40% of his clients within 3 months. Not because Rachel released the documents. She didn't have to. Affairs become gossip. Gossip becomes reputation damage. Megan moved to a different town. Couldn't handle the whispers. A month after the divorce was final, I heard the last piece of the story. Derek had called Megan, suggested they finally be together. Her response, according to someone who heard it from someone, being with you destroyed everything I had. Do you think I want to look at your face every day and remember what I lost? Neither of them got what they wanted. The final irony wasn't lost on me. They'd destroyed 2 marriages, 4 children, stable homes, decades of trust. And for what? For hotel rooms and secret texts and the thrill of doing something forbidden. Without the secret, there was nothing. The affair had been the relationship. Once it was out in the open, once they were free to actually be together, neither of them wanted it. Derek was alone. Megan was alone. And I was pretty sure they'd stay that way. October 15th. 1 year after I lay in the woods and watched my life fall apart. I'm at the cabin. Same trip, same time of year. Craig and Pete are here, James too, my business partner now. We don't talk about Derek. It's like there's a silent agreement. His name doesn't get mentioned. His chair by the fire stays empty. Good season this year, Craig says, throwing another log on the fire. Saw a 12-point buck this morning. Didn't have a clear shot, but man, beautiful animal. Maybe tomorrow, Pete says. Weather's supposed to clear. What about you, Tyler? You see anything? Couple of does. Nothing worth taking. I sip my beer. Plenty of time left? The company is doing well. Second location opened in spring, third one's planned for next year. I hired a manager I trust, gave myself permission to work less, spend more time with my kids. It's not the life I planned, but it's a life I'm building, one day at a time. I'm dating a woman named Claire, a veterinarian I met at Owen's soccer game. She laughs easily and doesn't ask too many questions about my past. We've been out 6 times now. Nothing serious yet, but she makes me smile, and I'd forgotten what that felt like. I'm in therapy, working through the anger, the trust issues, the way I flinch when someone tells me they love me. My therapist, A woman named Dr. Reeves, who's seen enough damaged vets to know not to push too hard, says healing isn't linear. Some days are better than others. Some nights I still wake up at 3 a.m., reaching for someone who's not there. Lily is in high school now. She knows more about what happened than I intended. Teenagers talk and our town is small. She asked me once if I hated her mother. No, I told her. I don't hate her. I just don't trust her anymore. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "That's worse, isn't it? Hate goes away eventually. Not trusting someone. That's forever." Smart kid. Smarter than I was at her age. Owen still asks about Derek sometimes. Why his godfather stopped coming around. Why we don't see him anymore. I tell him the truth, simplified. Sometimes people do things that hurt each other too much to stay friends. Even people who used to love each other. Last week, he said something that stopped me cold. He said, "Dad, do you think Mom's sorry? For real?" I thought about it. Thought about all the apologies she'd sent. The letters I'd thrown away unopened. The way she looked at me now, when we met for custody exchanges, like she was waiting for forgiveness I wasn't sure I could give. "I think she's sorry it turned out this way," I said finally. "Whether she's sorry for what she did, that's between her and her conscience." "Is that different?" "Yeah, buddy, it's different." The fire is dying down. Everyone's gone to bed. I'm sitting alone with a beer I'm barely drinking, listening to the night sounds, thinking about nothing in particular. A year ago, I was a man with a wife, a best friend, a life I thought I understood. Now I'm a man with 2 kids who need me, a business that keeps me busy, and a future I'm still figuring out. I don't forgive them. I don't forget what they did. But I'm not carrying it anymore. That's the thing I've learned this year. Revenge doesn't feel like closure. It feels like putting down a weight you've been carrying for too long. The satisfaction fades. The anger cools. And you're left with yourself, trying to figure out who you are without the person who betrayed you. I'm still working on that. Probably always will be. But sitting here, in the dark, with the smell of wood smoke and pine, I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. Space. Room to breathe. I finish my beer. Go to bed. Tomorrow we hunt.